my friends, and welcome to Leadership. Today, we're going to explore what exactly leadership is, and then we will build on that further by going into how to build a high performing team. So, let's first of all examine leadership. It's a term that's used quite a lot. In fact, in some organizations, the senior management is referred to as leadership. But are they truly leading? What is leadership? Think about it. How would you define it? Leadership could be many things to different people, but leadership is all about influence. John Maxwell says the true measure of leadership is influence. Nothing more, nothing less. John Maxwell has been called America's leadership guru, and he is the inspiration for an organization that I formed called the Project Leadership Institute. If you go to projectleadershipinstitute.com, you can learn a little bit more about us. One of the things we do is focus quite heavily on leadership. In fact, our members have over 100 hours of leadership instruction under their belts. So today, I'm going to share with you a little bit of what we study in the Project Leadership Institute. So, establish that leadership is all about influence. Nothing more, nothing less. Think about it. I guarantee that you have influenced at some point today or in your career. When you were a kid and you wanted to grab your parents' attention, I want to wager that you influenced them in some way, either by making a loud noise or by grimacing, making a face, feigning shock, or feigning sadness when you couldn't get what you wanted. Those are all ploys to influence. That's what leadership is. So how can you influence? Ethically, responsibly, sensibly. There's one overarching idea that I want to share with you. People don't care how much you know. They don't care how much you have. They don't care about your status or your title until they know how much you care. People don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. Which goes a long way to show you that to be a great leader, you should be thinking about people, because no one leads as the best leader alone. In order to be an effective leader, you need to have followers. John says, "He who thinks he leadeth but has no one following him is only taking a walk." And unfortunately, there are many people taking walks alone. They're not leading. They might have a title, they might have a position, but they're not leading. They're taking walks alone. Because before you can effectively lead, before you can effectively influence, you must bring people for the journey through your likability, your empathy, and more. There are 5 levels of leadership that John Maxwell talks about in his book, The 5 Levels of Leadership. And the very first level is called the position level. In order to lead at the position level, all you need to do is have the position, have the title and the position, and that's it. But there's only so far you can go with a position or title compared to where you could end up as a leader if you added more ingredients to the mix. So, level 1, position. I'm the leader. I'm the project manager. Follow me. I'm the CEO. Follow me. I'm the CIO. Follow me. Okay, I guess we need to follow you because you've got the title, but I'm not giving you any more than what is just the bare minimum. I'm sure you've seen that kind of leadership where people are purely positional leaders. You don't get very far by being just a positional leader. So you need to up the ante to level 2. Level 2 leadership is called the permission level. And at the permission level, people follow you because they want to. You think about it. In your leadership, why do people follow you? Do people follow you because you are a positional leader? Because of threats, carrot and sticks? Or do people follow you because you have earned trust? Because you are likable? Because you do what you said you would? And level 2 is about those things. People follow you because they like you. They trust you. You have a ready smile. You've got a positive mental attitude. You've got a great demeanor. You are always giving off positive energy. There are two kinds of people, only two kinds of people. The ones who build you up, give you energy, and the ones who tear you down. They sap the very life out of you. So which leader are you? Are you the leader who gives energy, positive mental attitude, ready smile? Or are you the leader who takes away energy, accolades? You'd rather take the accolades than allow your team members get it. No, we don't want to be that kind of a leader. But there are some leaders like that. I want you to tag 3 leaders who are awesome leaders that you have encountered. I talk about awesome leaders I encounter all the time. I want to give a shout out to Tim Fraser, a leader from my days at Citigroup. Jim Schaefer, a leader from my days at Honeywell. Mary Hirschner, my mentor. Without her, I would not be where I am today. They're great leaders all around you. You just need to look and you see that DNA. And the people that have influenced you have done so for many reasons, but I would like to wager that before you even gave them the ability to do that, to influence you, you bought into something about them. You might have bought into how they care, how empathetic they are, how giving they are, or more. We'll talk about that in the next few levels. But at level 2, again, it's likability. Let's go to level 3, because it's not enough to be likable. Being likable is great. Having a ready smile, positive mental attitude. But have you ever met someone who is so nice, but when it comes to results, they didn't get the memo? You ever seen that? I have. So when it comes to the next level, this is what John refers to as the production level. And at the production level, people follow you because of the results that you get. They follow you because of what you have done for the firm. They can see that indeed you are a power player. You are a most valuable player for the organization. You get results, you get traction for action, and the results speak for themselves. This is level 3. I remember when I was at American, at the time US Airways, there was one program project manager, Jim Potts, and Jim would get so much done for American Airlines. I'd wonder, how on earth does he do what he does? When people operate at such a high level and they get these results, that is part of leadership. And you may find yourself buying into leaders because they have tangible results. Steve Jobs is a great example of a leader who got tangible, awesome results. And that's why he came back to Apple. Back in the day, we know he left, but he came back. And the catalyst for the second coming of Steve, as we call it, the Steve Jobs fans, is because he had results. He could make stuff happen. That's level 3. Let's go to level 4. Level 4 leadership is really all about people following you because of what you've done for them. It's like that song, "What Have You Done For Me Lately?" People are always looking around with a radar gun. What have you done for me. So law of reciprocity. A lot of people, they lead, but there's nothing that they've done for their people. Nothing they've done at a personal level, nothing they've done at a bare bones level. They don't think about adding value to people. Now, you're obviously into leadership to have gotten this far. So I want to ask you, what have you done for your people? And how can you add value to them beyond what you already have? I worked in a firm where I needed to be there all the time, literally all the time, because I was leading a department, a well-known bank, big bank. And in this archiving department, my attention was needed. At the same time, I did want to pursue a master's degree in construction information technology. So I had to balance the schedule in a few ways that may not be the norm. Do a few extra long hours at work while going for that degree program. Well, my boss, Tim, at the time, who I mentioned earlier, said, Phil, I'm going to encourage you to go for your degree program. Just don't let the department sink. Oh my goodness. That was the biggest thing anyone could have ever done for me in my working career, to let me do my work by not being a draconian leader, by seeing me as a capable individual and not micromanaging me, and asking me to let things be as they always have been, which is excellent. And on those grounds, I could pursue my degree full time. Talk about giving to someone. Oh my goodness. Giving value to someone. There are many ways you can show value to the people who you lead or the people that you work with. And I want to challenge you, how are you doing that? How are you adding value to people? You can add value with your time. You can give of your time. You can give of your energy. So many ways to give to people. You could give advice. You could give, even at times, a lunch to your team members. You could give them a day off, or at least a day where they work remotely. There are many ways you could show that you care for people and give value to people. But you know what makes each team member tick. So my question to you is, what are you going to do to take that up a notch and add more value to your team? That's level 4. Level 5 is all the levels 1, 2, 3, and 4, checking the box, and the consistency over time, over the long haul. It will be very evident that you are the epitome of a great leader. But it doesn't happen overnight. Think about it. When you get to an organization, the very first day, you have absolutely no track record in the firm. You've got your resume and what's on your resume, but you don't have credibility from within the firm. So you're a purely positional leader. It's up to you to get to level 2 quickly. You want to get to level 2 by showing empathy, likability, trust, do what you say, be empathetic, give positive vibes, positive mental attitude. Don't be a dishwater doll Darcy or a negative Ned or Nancy. You want to project energy. That's what you should do in your first week, and your second and third, and your first month, and your 10th month, and your 12th year. Always bring in the positivity, the empathy, the energy. This is what takes you through the journey of leadership and gets you to what we call level 5, the pinnacle. So level 5 rests solidly on 1, 2, 3, production, 4, people, and then the pinnacle. And when you have gotten to the pinnacle and people see you as the epitome of a leader because you've consistently delivered 1, 2, 3, and 4 for the long haul, that's level 5. So I want to encourage you. How are you leading? Are you leading intentionally? I hope you are. Let this be a wake up call to do so, to intentionally seek out leadership. If you are looking to join a leadership program where you can learn more about leadership, this is just the beginning. I want to encourage you to go on down to our website. It's projectmanagementdoctor.com/PLI. I have a program starting next year. It's going to run for the entire year, and you will be able to tap in monthly to be mentored, trained, and coached by me, not only for your regular work, but in the area of leadership. By the time we're done with year one, you will understand the nuts and the bolts, the intricacies of leadership, and you will have a great template for you to begin to grow intentionally about leadership. So I encourage you to come for that journey if you want to learn more, no matter the industry you're in. Now you got a pretty good idea of leadership, being influenced, and how to effectively climb the ladder of leadership based on John's book, The 5 Levels of Leadership, which I encourage you to look into. You absolutely should get that book from Amazon, The 5 Levels of Leadership by John Maxwell, my mentor. In fact, John is the inspiration for which the Leadership Institute that I run was put together. Having been one of his founding members at the John Maxwell team, that spurred me to see how important leadership was and how so many people, even at the professional level, lack leadership knowledge and instruction. So, let's jump into the next piece of what I have for you today. Today, we are going to have a little bit more than just leadership basics. We are going into a little bit more leadership understanding for teams. That's right. I want to share with you some ideas on how you, as a leader, can build a high performing team. Now that you've gotten a fairly good idea of leadership, let's jump into this topic. How do you create a high performance team environment? I'd like you to think about that for a few moments. How do you get a team to be a high performing one? There's several things that you need to do along the way. But let's start off talking about being a great leader, a great situational leader. So we're going to talk about situational leadership. Situational leadership is a term coined by Hersey and Blanchard, and their model is called the situational leadership model. I want to talk about this model before we go any further. As a leader, it is very important that you understand people have different ways they think and act and perceive the world around them. For that reason, you cannot afford to be a one-way leader. In other words, you cannot afford to lead in just one way. This model gives you a palette, if you will, for leadership, depending on the people that you are working with. We have two axes here. We have the y-axis, as you can see, which is supportive behavior. And on the x-axis, we have directive behavior. So think about it like this. If you were working with an individual that doesn't know what to do as well as other people, in fact, if you are comparing them on a continuum, you would say that they have low competence. They may have high commitment, but they are not able to do the work as well as others because they may be new. We refer to them as being in this D1 quadrant. Low competence, high commitment. Eager beavers. Think about someone out of high school that's so ready to do anything it takes to show that they can do the job. They're eager, high commitment, but they don't have the experience. They fall into this directing quadrant. And it's not just people out of high school. This could be anyone. Someone new to the job. Eager beaver, doesn't know how to do the work. You may have to be rather directive with them. And on a continuum, this is going to vary how directive you need to be depending on how much help they need. Okay? So if you're working with someone that has low competence but high commitment, you could focus squarely on giving them a whole lot of direction. Not as much support because they may not need it. They're already quite confident in themselves, and what you need to do is direct them. Okay. So when we say directive behavior, we're talking about the extent to which you, the leader, tells the follower what to do and how to do it, where it needs to be done and when it needs to be completed. When we talk about the relationship or the supportive behavior, we're talking about the extent to which the leader engages in open dialogue with the follower, the extent to which they actively listen and provide recognition and reinforcement for task-related progress. So you could say this first quadrant is a directing style of leadership. You see the word directing right there, or guiding. This style is characterized by the leader using moderate to high amounts of task behavior and moderate to low amounts of relationship behavior. The leader makes decisions surrounding the timely completion of the task and provides the follower with the benefit of his or her experience in that regard. The flow of communication is from the leader to the follower. Questions posed by the leader are typically focused on clarity. Do you have any questions on the instructions we've just reviewed? You could say that this style, the directive style, is a short-term approach intended to create movement. It may be seen by some as being a little bit aggressive, but if done the right way, it wouldn't come across as that. It's getting traction for action. It aligns with followers who have limited, if any, experience or skill performing the task in question, and for whatever reason, they're either insecure or unmotivated to try. This style, though, requires close supervision by the leader for the express purpose of identifying any signs of incremental progress to be recognized by the leader in an effort to accelerate ongoing development. Now let's go out and take a look at the grand scheme. So we've talked about S1. Let's talk about S2. Again, you can see that this is called the coaching style. It's also referred to sometimes as the selling style. So this describes a leadership approach that is high on both task and relationship behavior. You can see it's right there, high in supportive and high in directive. The leader still maintains decision rights regarding what the follower needs to be doing, how they should be doing it, and when it needs to be completed. But the structure is provided in combination with ample opportunity for a discussion of why the task is important and where it fits into the grand scheme of things. The leader also actively recognizes enthusiasm, interest, and commitment of the follower for learning and gaining task-related experience. If we zoom in here to this S2 quadrant descriptor here we have low middling competence, low commitment. So this tells you one of our goals in S2 is to up the ante on the person's disposition to the task and their confidence. Okay. It's intended to create buy-in and understanding, and it aligns with followers who have limited, if any, experience performing the task, but exude confidence and motivation towards the process of a leader-driven skill development. Like style 1, effective use of this approach depends on direct observations by the leader. So you can see, in all honesty, the level of direction is expected to be less, which is why you have this curve showing you that we expect to have people at this level show a little bit more than people in S1. So like style 1, the effective use depends on direct observations. It's meant to be used as a guide, not a cookie cutter. Even though you've got 4 options in these quadrants, you still need to be flexible in your approach to it. You could have someone who's an S2 for certain tasks, but is in an S1 situation for others, or someone who is purely S4, does not need a single bit extra to do stuff, but in some other instances falls into an S1. And that's okay. Let's talk about S3, participating, facilitating, or collaborating. Style 3, also referred to as the participating style or supporting, is fundamentally different from styles 1 and 2 in that it is follower driven as opposed to leader driven, and as such it depicts an approach that is high on relationship behavior but low on task behavior, as you can see, right? In that context, and from the leader's perspective, the follower has the ability to perform the task in question at a sustained and acceptable level, but lacks maybe the confidence or the motivation or commitment to do so. This person doesn't need a whole lot of direction, as you can see, which is why they're here on the x-axis. But what they could do with is a whole lot of encouragement and a whole lot of support. That's the general idea. If the follower is regressing, for example, they are aware that they can effectively perform, but they've lost commitment in some instances. If the follower is developing, he or she might have demonstrated task proficiency, but it's like that job where you still have a little bit of trepidation. You've been for training, you understand the subject matter, but you still got that niggling feeling in you that you don't know. That's like the imposter syndrome, if you will. But either way, the leader needs to discuss the follower's willingness by asking open-ended questions intended to help the follower recognize the source of performance challenge and generate a viable solution. And one of the ways managers do this for folks in this quadrant is they prop supports around them. That's why we call it supporting. They prop supportive individuals who may be team members around them to generate that level of confidence and comfort. So the summary of S3 is you could find yourself here in a new position. You've been in the company for a while, you know all the nuts and bolts of the firm, you've been for training for the new position, but you don't have enough confidence. Let's go to S4. S4 is called the delegating quadrant. So a delegating leadership style is another follower-driven leadership approach that is characterized by low amounts of both task and relationship behavior. The follower can perform the task at a sustained and acceptable level and is both confident and motivated to do so. So if we take a closer look at D4 here, we can see high competence and high commitment is what these people have. The enthusiastic beginner. And you can see with labels here for these different quadrants, the individuals who are talked about in these quadrants. So D4 is great for the enthusiastic beginner. High level of competence and high commitment. The intent of S4, let's zoom out, is to create or enhance task mastery and autonomy. It aligns with followers that have significant experience performing the task at or above expectation. In combination with a level of intrinsic motivation, that means they are motivated from within. That drives their ongoing commitment to excellence. The flow of communication in this quadrant in style 4 is from the follower to the leader, and it's typically initiated by questions from the leader that feature significant degrees of freedom. An example would be, from your perspective, what is working and what do we need to consider doing differently moving forward? So my friends, to have a high-performing team, if you're a project manager, I want to encourage you to, first of all, think about your people. Think about the task at hand and begin to ask, which quadrant do I need to employ for this task and this individual? Let me say that again. It's really, how do I see this task and the individual who has been assigned to the task? Do I see a high level of competence? Do I see a high level of confidence? If there's low competence and low confidence, then you know what you need to do. You need to up the ante and get into the coaching mode. If the person has a low level of confidence and a high level of competence, then you know you're in the supporting quadrant. This is how you need to think, all right? If you need to rewatch it, I want to encourage you, go back, watch it again, and everything is going to make a lot more sense. But the summary is, as a leader, you need to be ready to be situational. A great leader understands that not everyone is the same. We could be diverse in how we process the world around us. We could be diverse in how we think, how we solve problems, and how we act. Moving into our next discussion, my friends, this is where we talk about high-performing teams and how to build an effective team. A team that is operating at a high level of efficiency. Let me share a few ideas here with you. So, to get a good idea of team dynamics, I'm going to share some more information with you about one more concept, and it's called Tuckman's ladder. You might have heard about Tuckman's ladder. It's very possible you've heard about something called the 5 stages of team development. Some of you who have taken professional exams, you've definitely heard about this, the 5 stages of team development. It's also called Tuckman's ladder. So let me share this with you, what exactly Tuckman's ladder is. When a team is formed for the very first time, think about it. You've been in some of those circumstances. What happens? When the team forms, everyone's trying to look all cute and be cute. No one wants to rock the boat. The true character of those people isn't really coming out until you spend a little bit of time and then you're like, oh my goodness, I didn't know Phil was like that. I didn't know Bob was like that. And it's like the truth is being revealed. At that point, there could be a lot of conflict. That's called the storming stage. So in this next section, I'm going to walk you through really quickly the 5 stages of team development. Because this is what we could build the idea of a high-performing team on. In order to build a high-performing team, you need to understand team dynamics to begin with, right? team building is one of the top things in the list of what to do as a project manager, what to do as a leader, director, manager, VP, C level, whatever you are. You should be concerned about building a strong, high performing team. If your team members can enjoy each other's presence, company, intellect, and ideas, I believe that you can get much further than if they were at loggerheads. Makes sense, right? That's the thesis for all this. So, the idea, my friends, in the 5 stages of team development is as follows: you have forming, storming, norming, performing, and adjourning. In the forming stage, this is where the team comes together for the very first time. Everyone's on their best behavior, everyone's acting like butter wouldn't melt in their mouths. But then you get into the storming stage. And the storming stage is where the boxing gloves, as it were, come off. This is where it could get really nasty, it could get really bad, especially if people have not been prepared to understand that conflict is not bad. Unmanaged conflict is what is bad. But conflict is not a bad thing. Conflict is necessary for team growth. It is important for us to iron out the obstacles for us to move forward. The 3rd stage is norming. This is where the team is normalizing and they are beginning to wake up and smell the coffee that, hey, we got to work together. Well, let's try to even out and ease out those differences. Eventually, the team gets to a stage called the performing stage. And this is where the team is acting as a well oiled unit. They are acting like one organism. They are bursting through barriers, hitting all those blockers and obstacles, and they're getting an enormous amount done. But my question to you is, at what stage is your team? Some teams are in storming purgatory. They never get out of the storming stage. They are there forever, trying to get out, and it seems like they're about to get out, and then in comes a new team member. I guess you could call it the storming hell stage. Some teams, unfortunately, never move out of that. Others do. Those who do, a lot of times they need a great servant leader who can almost, as it were, be directive in the right stages, which is like the forming stage. But as time goes on, they begin to ease off the directive approach and they're more supportive, and the team grows and they're able to do their own thing themselves. So that's the general idea about getting to performing. Performing is where the team is performing to the optimum. But then we also have the adjourning stage. And in the adjourning stage, this is where the team adjourns, like in traditional project management. You have people coming together for the project. At the end of the project, they adjourn and go their own separate ways. And to be quite honest, that is not what we like to see, because what a waste. Having gotten the team to performing and having to let the team go their own separate ways, that's never a good thing. What we do want is for the team to stay together. I often say that's equity. When you've gone through all the heartache, all the hell in getting the team to eventually work together, how does it make sense to disband the team? So if you want to keep a high level of performance, keep the team intact. That is the general idea. Now, building on this and taking it out, my friends, to get done with what we're talking about today, there are steps to building a high performing team, and I want to cover some of those steps with you very quickly. We will be very quick here so that we can get done. All right. So, taking a look at these steps, my friends, here you can see here the plan, right? This is the plan step, and this just says define a clear picture of the future vision for the team. So as a leader, this is not something you want to do all alone. You might have an idea, high-level idea, but I would encourage you to bring the team along for the journey. This should be a discussion where you share with the team what the vision is, but it's done in a more dialogue form. When you have teams that are mature, you may actually want the team to pitch in a lot more and get them to be more self-organizing. But in the very early stages, you could define the picture, the vision. There's nothing wrong in having a vision for your team, right? Not every team in the early stages can be fully autonomous. Some teams have to grow into that. All right, next we have ground rules. So ground rules are do's and don'ts and acceptable behavior and group norms that need to be defined. Again, it's something the team should work on. Call out non-performing players on the team. There's nothing wrong in that. In order for the team to grow, there needs to be candor. I once trained the good folks at Yale, and they had a team charter with all the ground rules. And one of the things in the ground rules was no coming late to meetings, no cursing. Otherwise, you'll be penalized. And it was done in good fun, but it's a great way of how teams establish growth. Next, establish likability. As a servant leader, be genuine, don't be phony or fake. Have a positive mental attitude. As I said in the beginning, this is one of the sure bankers to getting people to know, like, and trust you. Be confident. Don't tear others down. Be dependable. Next one is create a safe space. Talk about things, even the hard things, and help people to understand that it's a safe space. You got to cultivate that environment. Next, inspire more than drive. Inspire people to, as it were, be intrinsically motivated as opposed to you having to extrinsically motivate all the time. I'm not saying it doesn't have its place. Intrinsic motivation is great. Extrinsic motivation also has its place, but you need to inspire more than drive. Don't be a carrot and sticks leader. There are times when you need to encourage the team extrinsically, but that should not be the norm. All right, let's move on. The second set of things I want you to think about is resolve conflicts. You should be ready to be a mediator, a facilitator, especially in the early stages. So have a positive mindset towards conflict. Understand that people may need a little bit of training, coaching, mentoring, motivation, and understanding on how to positively see conflict. Cooperation over competition. Get the team to cooperate. Rewards team output instead of solo player output. Set stretch goals. To set up a high performing team, you got to move the team out of their comfort zone. Communicate and reiterate the vision. People perish because there's no knowledge. Where there's no vision, people perish. What does that mean? Your people need to understand and have knowledge. So ask meaningful questions and listen actively. Finally, we've got two. One, inspire trust, as I said in the beginning. Follow through on your commitments. Let your yes be yes, let your no be no. Hold true to the promise. And lastly, inspire, motivate, and energize. Have fun, but never at anyone else's expense. Over the past number of minutes, my friends, we've been talking about leadership. Leadership is many things, so many things to different people. And I want to encourage you, my friend, to learn more about leadership. Leadership is vast. There's so many ways we can see the world of leadership. We could perceive the world of leadership. We can see the world of leadership through influencing by trust, or perhaps it's influencing by being decisive. Have you ever seen a leader that is not decisive? How do you feel having to follow such leaders that are not decisive? It's almost like an oxymoron when you see a leader waffling. See? So leadership is many things. It's influencing by doing a number of things. Influencing by communicating. Influencing by vision casting. Influencing by building trust. Influencing by empathy. Influencing by just being understanding and getting everyone on the same page. Leadership is many things. I like a quote from Steve Jobs, and I'm going to end with this. The great Steve Jobs, he says, paraphrasing, management is making people do what you think they should do. In other words, what the manual says they should do. The HR policies, making them do those things. You could say that's management. But leadership is inspiring people to do the things they never thought they could. Wow. That's a mind-blowing epiphany right there regarding leadership. Inspiring people to do the things they never thought they could. In other words, they blew their own minds. When you are able to take your people to a level that they are outperforming the best version they even could conceive of themselves, you know that you are truly influencing the right way. You're truly influencing at a level that is above pushing paper, ticking the box. Oh, the team's good today, they're fed and watered, that's it. No, that won't do. Not in my world of leadership. All right, so my friends, I hope you enjoyed our discussion today. I want to encourage you, if you are looking to learn more about leadership, it doesn't happen by dumb luck. It will not happen by dumb luck. In order to be an effective leader, you need to be intentional about your leadership growth. So I'm inviting you to learn leadership with me. I have a program coming up in 2024, and it's called the Leaders Club. In the Leaders Club, you're going to learn a lot more than what I've shown you here today. You are going to learn a lot about leadership, leadership structure. I have a curriculum that's been developed to teach you in many ways about leadership. When it comes to breaking down building a high-performing team, for example, we could break that down into inputs that will help you do that. I will teach you these inputs, tools and techniques that can be used to create a high-performing team environment. The outputs that you derive when you do that, right? The outputs you derive when you put the inputs into the mix and you use these tools and techniques. The output is going to be synergy, something that high-performing teams need. Trust, something that high-performing teams need. And this is just one of the many topics of the 25 that over the years we are going to be learning together. What about building and maintaining effective relationships? That has its place as well. But how do you build and maintain effective relationships? You see, there are so many topics that we need to cover to make leadership as full as possible. Okay. So I encourage you, if leadership is something you have wanted to learn, it's possible that you've heard from many people, oh, you have to be a born leader before you can. Don't buy into that. Leadership is a learned skill. Back in the day, people would gravitate towards the idea of the great man theory. And what do I mean by the great man theory? Let me just touch on that real super quick. The great man theory is simply born traits make a leader. You either have it or you don't. But that's a lie. There are some traits that make you a great leader, yes, but it's not just about being born with them. In today's world, there are so many moving parts that make you a great leader. And I can tell you, A lot of people who never thought they would be great leaders ended up being great leaders. Why? Because they learned the art and science of leadership. There are other thoughts, such as qualities that leaders have, but actions of a leader also boils in here as well. A few pioneers like Sir Francis Galton, he talked about leadership being physical and psychological, generational perhaps. The US Marine Corps and Army back in the day, they would view leadership through the lens of intelligence, values, and energy. Edwin Gaselli began to see leadership through achievement, intelligence, decisiveness, self-confidence, initiative, and supervisory skills. These are learned skills. You see how the tide began to change from seeing leaders as, oh, you must have this physical structure, you must have this as part of your lineage, to achievement, intelligence, decisiveness, self-confidence. And I tell you, we've come a very long way, because even though these are great traits, it has evolved tremendously. Paul von Hindenburg grouped those in the military in Germany into bright, dull, lazy, or energetic, and based on that, his disposition was spend time on the best of the best. Don't waste time on people that fall into the fourth category of lazy and dull. But I want to wager that a lot of people who have been deemed lazy and dull, even they have hope to become great leaders. So my question to you is, are you willing to do what you need to up the ante on your leadership, regardless where you are in the firm? Are you confident about leadership? Do you feel you're doing a great job at it? If the answer is, yes, Phil, I've started, but I need to learn more, which is the answer for almost everyone who understands that we aren't done until the day we check out. We keep learning, we keep growing, we keep expanding, we keep being a river, we keep giving, so we can't stop learning. If that is your understanding, I want to invite you to join my project leadership individuals. Come along for the journey with us. The Project Leaders Club is not just for people who manage or work on projects. Everyone is welcome to this initiative. I have two initiatives. One is weekly leadership. Do you have what it takes to keep up the pace? To learn leadership weekly? Maybe you do. If you do, go to projectleadershipinstitute.com and come along for the ride. But if you feel, I don't have the ability to learn leadership weekly, and you want to come along for a monthly engagement, then I encourage you to go to projectmanagementdoctor.com/PLI. I'm going to show you both of these websites to encourage you to sign up for the programs so that you can learn leadership with me. Let's go there. So here's the first opportunity. It's called Project Leaders Club. To join the Leaders Club, going down to projectmanagementdoctor.com/PLI. It starts in 2024 and it runs through. The other opportunity is called the Project Leadership Institute. Now, this is weekly coaching. To join this program, go to projectleadershipinstitute.com. Both programs will give you an awesome opportunity for you to learn leadership, for you to learn alongside like minds, and for you to get the inspiration that you need, the traction, the reminders, the constant help to go to that next level. So whether you can join the monthlies or the weeklies, whatever you want to do, maybe you even want to do both, because leadership isn't a small deal. I've been learning leadership with John Maxwell for over 13 years now, and I can tell you that it has transformed the way I think and the way I act as a leader. So I encourage you to come for the journey. I know lots of you are professionals in different spheres, project management, IT, and many more, maybe even management. But that's not the same as leadership. It could help having the skills that you do, but it's not leadership. Leadership is very different. And that's why I join people of like minds weekly, every Thursday, every Saturday. We're learning leadership together. Okay? Many of the people from Project Leadership Institute, year 1 and year 2, they've clocked over 100 hours already of leadership training. Sometimes they put on the hat of a coach and they learn in that way. They put on the hat of a mentor. They put on the hat of a facilitator. They put on the hat of a teacher and a trainer, a speaker. And you will be given those opportunities as well. So I encourage you to join us. Again, go on down to projectleadershipinstitute.com. If you're able to join weekly coaching to develop yourself to get to that next level, join us here. And if you prefer to join a monthly engagement, all the information is on the website. Okay? Thank you for joining me, my friends. Truly wish you all the best in your leadership journey. Take care and bye for now.